How mean is that? You know, it's funny. Bill Gore goes, I haven't seen him in 18 years. He has no idea. I just took his head off in a fucking ballroom before Murph and the Magic Tones come on. And until then, don't go change it.
Schmitty Comes Alive. Available only on the Joe Business page at MikeSchmidtComedy.com.
Oh, yeah. I am awake and alive and alive. I'm so great, I gotta say it twice and cut it out once. My head's a syrup bottle that's getting tipped over every Wednesday. You're a storyteller in a storytelling podcast, and the only story you're telling now is a story about stories you don't want to tell. What the fuck?
Hey, what's happening? Mike Schmidt, 40-year-old boy podcast. A plane went by. Did you hear that plane? or it's a plane's about to crash. I don't know what it was. I don't know. That got kind of loud there pretty quick. I'm glad. I hope you heard it, folks. And if you didn't, trust me, a helicopter just went by the window here and peeked in and saw us and then drove away. It was like it was a King Kong helicopter. It's just a spy. That's the worst part of that movie. When you watch King Kong and like King Kong, first of all, he wants to bone that chick, which is the weirdest thing in the fucking world. And then he finds her in New York. Are you shitting me? I mean, look, he's not a giant trekking dog. He's a giant fucking ape. Apes aren't known for finding the things that they like unless it's bananas. Give me a fucking break, King Kong. No one wants to hear about you going door to door. And that's the thing, because again, there's millions of buildings in New York, and he stomped through and he found that chick, and then he reached in and he got her. And by the way, I'm talking about both versions, right? Did they have it in? Oh no, there's three versions of King Kong. Oh, and they're all, well, I mean, are they all awful? I mean, you know what's really bad? Look, the middle one is terrible. All right, the one from the 70s, because someone remade King Kong, but they also had the sensibility of a 70s movie. So it's literally like 3 hours. There's a scene in that movie where Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange have a chat in a bar for an hour. I mean, it's the fucking stupidest thing you'll ever see. And she's on the run from a giant gorilla, so she's like, hey, by the way, let's go in and have a whiskey at this hotel bar. And Jeff Bridges is like, okay. You know what? I swear to God, I've talked about that on this show. I must have. I absolutely must have, because it was so fucking ludicrous and dumb. But you know what, folks? When a giant gorilla ruins the #1 city in the United States, you have to talk about it multiple times. How do I ignore that? It happened. Fuck it. We all lived through it. We lived through a gorilla destroying New York. How do I not reference that ever again? What if that happened? A giant gorilla rampaged through New York, destroyed it, was shot and murdered, and then the next day everybody's like, man, that fucking gorilla. What? What are you talking about? Well, there was a giant gorilla. He rampaged. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? You don't know what I'm talking about. He's still downtown. You can go get a photo on his face. I have no idea. I have no concept what you're discussing. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'd like to go into this hotel bar for an hour and chat about it with you, if we could. Let's call Jessica Lange and have a discussion. God damn it. And I talked about that too, because the new one with fucking Peter Jackson. It's like they tackle King Kong. I don't know what they do. They beat him up and they trick him into something on the island. And then the next thing you know, he's in New York. It's like they just, oh, how'd you guys get him to New York? We did. We just did. We floated him over. We tied a bunch of balloons to him and we sailed him across like a kite, like a giant ape kite. With a banana tail. Oh, dude, that's what I want. I just want a big ape kite with a banana tail. Wouldn't that be perfect? That's all I want to do. Folks, I have nothing to talk to you about. That's why we're talking about ape kites and banana tails. I've done nothing at all with my life in the past week. You're making a squishy face. I don't know why you would make that squishy face.
Really important.
What?
You voted.
Voting? Yeah, that's fine. I'll talk about that eventually.
Really important. You did something amazingly. You were part of it.
Yes, I was, folks. I was part of it. I was part of the losing effort of many things that I voted for here in California, disappointingly. No, I voted for president, I voted for senator, and I voted for DA, and I voted, well, I mean, what do you care? What if I ran all the, look, folks, I did nothing. Let's go over my entire ballot. Hold on, here's a voting guide. Let's talk about Prop 30. Awful. What if I did? What if I just went fucking Orion Samuelson on everybody and just said, hey, here's a... what, do you guys know who Orion Samuelson is? You don't. You have no idea. He's a guy in Chicago who... Here's who Orion Samuelson is. He's a longtime broadcaster in Chicago who would bring us the Farm Report at like 5 in the morning. And he drove us crazy because my little brothers and I would watch him. And he had these like Cupid doll lips. Like he had the reddest lips I've ever seen on a human, not even just a man. Like he looked like he was wearing this weird lipstick, like bad lip gloss. Like fucking, did anybody see Sarah Palin on Fox over the yesterday? Oh, dude, I don't care. All right. You can stand down and judge me all you want. I would just hate fuck the shit out of that woman. I'm sorry. And I don't even hate her. Let's put it that way. I don't hate Sarah Palin. She's just a fucking goofball. And I would just, because she yesterday had pink lip gloss on. It was the greatest, dude. It was almost like they went, hey, let's find out what this hooker thinks about the election. Have you seen her? Because she's had this weird makeover where she's got this really big poofy hair and she got new tits and then she's wearing this really thick lip gloss. I honestly, when they cut to her picture, I almost didn't hear her speak because everybody on Fox rolled their eyes so loudly it made a noise. Like they all did it at once and you heard it like, yeah. Like, man, she looked crazy, awesome, but also bad. Like she shouldn't be talking about an election. She should be a cheerleader coach in Texas. That's what she looks like. There's pictures of her now. Go find her online where she's wearing like these skinny. She was shopping by my fucking house. I'm so pissed I missed her. Like I would have, come on. Yeah, I would have, let's face it, folks. If I meet her, she's going down, right? You know that's happening. She can't resist the wily charms of fat guy from the valley. That's never happening. Because listen to me, that's all I can do is talk. So if I get to talking to her and then I pretend that I'm interested in what she has to say, holy shit, I knocked that over with a feather. God damn it. Next thing you know, I got Palin ankles right around my fucking ears. Yeah, baby. Fuck you, Todd. Ride your snowmobile out of town. I'm jamming your wife. I am going to town on Palin Biscuit. Step off.
Oh my God.
Just walk out of there with a fucking shiny face. Nice to meet you, Miss Palin. Go home. Yeah. All right. Folks, she was by my house shopping like her and the idiot, the other one, the fucking kid. Not the idiot kid. Not yet. This one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not the poor kid. What happened to that kid? Trig? Tag. Who's the kid who has problems?
I can't remember.
The youngest.
I have important things in my head. I can't remember.
You can't keep track of the Palin kids?
No.
It's funny because you said Tag. That's a Romney kid. What the fuck is with that party? I mean, not even just. I was gonna say that family. That entire party is the weird. There's Bristol, Tag. Oh, I have to say this. I apologize. And this is going to out me for something because I was on Facebook yesterday reveling in Schadenfreude. All right, I was trying to find people who were sad about the election and then reading all of the stuff that they posted because it made me laugh. And someone was talking about how smart their child was because they kept saying that they wanted Mitt Romney to win, and they were so excited that their kid was that smart. I got news for you. Your kid is not smart. If he keeps saying he's going to vote for Mitt Romney, your kid is lazy. That's a lazy kid. Because that's a kid who likes 3 syllables rather than 5 syllables. That's it. That's a kid who doesn't want to say Barack Obama. He just wants to say Mitt Romney because it's easier to say, and then he can jam another cookie into his face. But she wrote, my child is so smart. He said Mitt Romney, so he knows. No, he doesn't know. He knows. He's seen the sign in your yard, and he's seen you praying at the altar of white in your fucking living room or whatever the fuck. So, of course, that's why he's going to say Mitt Romney over and over. But the best part was in the same, how people respond to that on Facebook with a little thing? Someone wrote, I know. My kids on their way to school, they took a vote on the school bus, and it was 13-5 for Mitt Romney. So finally, at least this generation is starting to understand. I'm like, what are you talking about? These children don't know. They have no clue. All they know is their parents keep talking about the scary black dude, so they're going to vote for the other guy. And then directly under that, another woman went, I know. You know what? Brooklyn and Dakota at her school. And I just went, what? Oh, hold on. Brooklyn and Dakota. Let me guess who you're voting for. Literally, because then I went to that person's page and their avatar was just a picture of Wonder Bread. Like literally just a jar of mayonnaise up there in the corner. That was the photo that they used. Brooklyn and Dakota.
Oh my God.
Give me a fucking break. And that's not even new. Like that's because I wish I could say that that's like unique. No, there are millions of Brooklyns and Dakotas running all over the place. They used to be spinning on a pole. Now they're going to school. Awful.
Oh my God.
So The hell was I talking about? I had giant monkeys in here. I had something else. You know what? I'm going to do this real quick before I get into a bunch of other shit. And I don't even have a bunch of other shit to talk about. But I'm going to get into this right now. Let's talk about this because it's been 3 weeks since I brought this up and I never got to it. I keep forgetting to talk about it, and then I'll bring it up and then I don't talk about it. 2 things. One, two things. Literally 2 things. You just said you had one thing you've been waiting 3 weeks, and now you're skipping it to go to a different thing. Because I will tell you this real fast today. I saw a fake you downstairs. Did I talk about that? I had fake you downstairs. I saw big tits and a cane. I was like, no fucking way. It just cracked me up. I was like, dude, that's total fake Lily. Almost to the point where I wanted to take a picture and then show you. Big tits and a cane. That's you.
My first album.
Big tits and a cane. I got news for you. The CANE is on the JOB, an expert to keep you from falling DOWNE. Downey? Fuck. Couldn't do any Big Daddy Kane in the middle of everything. All right, so, folks, what was I talking about?
2 things you were going to tell us about.
One thing. This is the one thing. That's what NXS would say.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Why not? By the way, let me go ahead and throw this at you folks. If you've ever... shut up. NXS, like I'm a fan, all right. And my wife, by the way, I told you that Michael Hutchence is on the list. Like because I fucked the shit out of her at a concert once. So to this day, she's like literally, if he came back from the dead, if there was a zombie apocalypse, my wife would arm herself to the teeth to fight through all of them just to find the Hutchence zombie and fuck it. Not even joking. The John F. Kennedy Jr. zombie and the Michael Hutchence zombie. It's a shame. All the men my wife loves are dead. She had to settle for me because those 2 kicked it. Because that's why. That's exactly what happened. Because she had a chance with Michael Hutchence and then John F. Kennedy Jr. and they died, and then she went, well, what about this fat idiot who tells jokes? Why not? Let's glom onto him. I'm sure he's going to be something someday. And they died in such weird ways. Hutchence died jerking off, strangled himself with a belt, and John F. Kennedy Jr. dies in a plane crash. How do I live up to that? I can't live up to that, right? You know what? I'm going to have to die jerking off in a plane crash. That's how I'm going to have to do it. It's the only way I live up to the fucking standard they've set. I have to jerk off on the second the plane starts heading down, forget it. I am jerking off all over the place. And I'll take photos and I'll just fucking send them to her. Here you go. Love me in perpetuity. I died like your heroes.
Oh my God.
Heroes is a strong word. So... I'm lost. The one thing in excess, like I said, it's the one thing. They got a new singer. They had a show, and they had that J.D. Fortune guy show up. He was awesome. You can make your mean face all you want. That album's really good. The album with J.D. Fortune is really good for NXS. We went and saw them live at the Greek. They were fucking amazing. They were so good. And then J.D. Fortune got into coke, like the worst cliche you could ever imagine. He was a guy who won a reality show contest and was really good, wrote good songs and did a good album with NXS, and then got into drugs, like I said, 70s drugs, like weird. He became hooked on PCP or some weird shit, and they had to fire him. And then they brought in they did an album, I think, with a bunch of different lead singers. Stupid NXS. Just give it up. Keep it up at this point, you know? I mean, or just do like Journey and go find some Filipino dude who sort of looks like Michael Hutchence and have him sing songs. Although their Filipino dude, he doesn't look like Steve Perry, but he sounds exactly like Steve Perry. He's a Filipino Steve Perry, and it's not even. I'm not kidding. Go listen to it. He sounds exactly like Steve fucking Perry. You're like, it's crazy. Meanwhile, Steve Perry, still dreaming of the time he had lunch with me. All right. By year 1, folks. That was the genesis of this entire show. Literally, that story made me do this show. Did I ever tell that on here? I must have told that on here. I will.
Made you do this, or
huh?
Story? You told the story.
Well, yeah. The first episode ever of this podcast 5 years ago or whatever was a story about me having lunch with Steve Perry. Sort of. Go listen to it. I don't want to give the story away. But here's the thing. I only told that. The only reason I did this podcast was because then it happened to other friends of mine, and I knew they were going to. Well, fuck. I'll just tell it. I was on Never Not Funny, and then got fired, And then people were like, dude, you should do a podcast. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. They do the best podcast in the world. And now I'm going to compete with it. Because I had no idea what to do or would I have guests. I mean, it made no sense because I was certainly not a bit player, but I wasn't anybody that anybody knew with that show. You know what? I was known in comedy here in LA. I was Jimmy's guy. Like, I would show up at Pardo's shows. I was writing for him and I would be on his podcast. I was Jimmy's guy. That's how people knew me. To this day, probably Doug Benson and those guys know me because I was with Jimmy all the time. So I got whacked from Never Not Funny, and then I took a year because I was like, there's no way I can compete with this. It's the best show, and there's no way to do it, and I didn't even know what to do anyway. So I wandered the desert for a year, didn't know what to fucking do with myself. And you guys were very nice. A lot of people out there who are still listening were like, dude, you should do a show, you should do a podcast, because they had heard me on Never Not Funny. And I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. I mean, because I didn't know what to fucking say. So then Eric Butterfield, who was the first producer of this show, he had contacted me and he kept saying, dude, I will do anything you want. I will produce the show. I will come to you with the equipment and record you talking. You need to do a show. And I actually turned him down. I was like, nah, because again, I still wasn't sure what to do, but at the same time, I was a little fucking freaked out, man. I mean, what the fuck was I going to do? Just talk and just be me? I had no idea. But at the same time, in my head, I knew that if I didn't do it, I was then scared. If I didn't do it because Eric asked, I would then be scared. It would be stupid. So I was like, Eric, I don't think I can do it. So then Karen and I wound up at Louisa's Trattoria one day, and Steve Perry came in for lunch with a friend, and they were there eating, and I was like, that's fucking Steve Perry. I lost my mind. And I said that, but I mean, let's put it this way. I lost my mind internally, but on the outside, cool as a cucumber. I was amazing. Because, look, I've dealt with the famous. They're no better than you or I. Or me. And me, myself, and I. So I looked at Karen, and I'm like, that's Steve Perry. So I called the waitress over. And again, by year one, that'll tell the whole story. But so I had this anecdote about Steve Perry. And it was really cool. So I called my friend Pat. Because the waitress told me that Steve Perry came in there all the time for lunch. It was a restaurant by my house. So I called my buddy Pat. I go, look, dude, I met Steve Perry, and I told him the whole story. And I said, if you go there, she said he's there every day for lunch. Like, he's there all the time. So if you want to get stuff signed, maybe you bring it there and have lunch and meet him outside. He's like, cool. So I think a week went past, a few days, I don't know. And I got a call from Pat. He's like, dude. I'm like, what? And he and Jimmy Pardo had gone to Louisa's, and Steve Perry was there for lunch, and they waited, and then he signed all their stuff, and they met him, and they got to talk to him. And basically, they had the same experience that I did. And I was fucking pissed off. I was so mad. I wish I could say I wasn't. But it was like, because it was such a unique and fun and interesting, cool thing to have had happen. And I, again, you have to buy year one and you'll listen to the first episode and you'll hear exactly what happened. But, but it was such a great moment. And then they came along. And also I was weird with Jimmy at this time anyway. I won't lie to you because, we still weren't really talking because of what had happened. And for him to go in and get to experience the same thing that I did. And then in my head, I went, I was disappointed and I was upset, but I was happy for Pat because he got his album signed and so cool. And then he met him. That was great. And they're my friends. But at the same time, I felt like something had been stolen from me. Like a real personal experience had been taken from me. And I and again, that's wrong. It's stupid and it's foolish to feel that way, but we're all children inside. So I felt like a petulant child who had his rattle taken away. I was like, no, that's my rattle. I had that rattle. It's the one of a kind rattle. Nobody ever has had a rattle just like that. But now 2 of my closest friends took my rattle. And not only that, they were now going to tell everybody in the world that they had a rattle just like mine. And in my head, I went, holy shit, they're going to tell that story on Never Not Funny. They're going to tell the Steve Perry story. And that's my story. That's my fucking story. And again, completely irrational. I understand that. But it made me call Eric and go, hey, are you still down with that idea to go ahead and record stuff and do that? And he's like, yeah, why? Are you? I go, yes. Can you come by tomorrow? He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to get this done as soon as possible. Because now it was a race against time to get my Steve Perry anecdote out there before those guys get their Steve Perry anecdote. Because if they put their, because there was a lot of cross audience. And then at the time, who knew? I didn't know if even one fucking person was going to listen to me. Okay. But at the same time, if anybody was, it would be the people who knew me from that show. And if they heard them tell that story on that show, then the uniqueness of mine would be completely gone. It would be stripped of any unique varnish that was on the outside that made it shiny and bright and new. So the only thing I knew in my head was I had to get my story out there before they got their story out there. And that's what led me to do this podcast. Literally, rage and spite. That's the only reason. Like, I wish I could tell you that it was some, I spent a year thinking about it and it was going to be a wonderful time and I couldn't wait to do it. Well, you know, I did spend a year. And in that year, I was like, I wish I could do something, but I don't know what to do. And Eric kept asking. Eric was very nice. He kept offering. And I'm like, dude, I kept putting him off because, I mean, I'm not a leaper. All right. I mean, it's just, shit just sort of has to happen. And it happened right then. When I thought something had been stolen from me, I wanted to fiercely defend it as much as I possibly could. And I was like, fuck it. I'm doing this just to get, because I didn't even know about a second episode. I had no idea about anything. All I knew is I thought it was going to be a one-off. I'm like, I got to put out this story about Steve Perry and then retire forever from podcasting. Because I could not bear the thought of having my personal story ripped from me and told in a different way. Even though it wasn't true. I mean, that's completely false. They had the same exact story. And just they lived it and had it in a different way and went and did the same thing. But because of me, they would have never known if I hadn't told them. And I was fucking furious. I was so... Because, look, I'm being honest here. I was happy for my friends, but I was fucking pissed. I was pissed because it was a one-of-a-kind, unique story. And then it wasn't so unique anymore. All of that had been taken away. And not only that, like I said, they were then going to share it with everybody. And I was like, fuck, I can't have that. So the rage behind it and the spite forced me to try to get the show out as quickly as I possibly could. So I'm like, can you come by tomorrow? He's like, what? And he did. He schlepped from Riverside with his fucking 8,000 pounds of equipment and taped me. And the night before, I told you, I've told this story many times. I literally got up in the middle of the night because I was so nervous. And I just started typing. And I typed out everything that I was going to say on the show to the last and ah. Like I just thought, again, as I've mentioned on here, a stream of consciousness, I just sat there and typed whatever came into my head. So imagine, like go back to the beginning of this and when I was talking about King Kong and where we are now. Because what are we at? What time?
20.
We're at 20. The first episode of the show is 22 minutes. So imagine right now if you sat down when this show started and typed fucking everything that you heard. That's basically what I did. It was just oodles and oodles of apparently gay vocabulary. I don't know why I would say oodles. But there was a lot of stuff. So how did I get into that, man? Who knows? Because of INXS? Yeah, Steve Perry? I don't know. That's the one thing I wanted to tell you. No, it isn't. But you know what? The thing that I'm going to tell you is not even like, it doesn't even make any sense. I'm driving to Lily's house and I drive on Highland. Okay, which is a big road here in Hollywood. And first of all, by the way, there's a billboard up for the movie Despicable Me. And it's just two of the aliens and it has a date. Like for when the sequel comes out.
They're minions, not aliens.
I don't give a fuck what they are. Was that movie that
Movie was awesome.
Oh, come on. Come on. That movie was that recognizable to people that they can't wait for it, that they just see the two aliens on the billboard and they go crazy. They're excited for it. I don't give a shit what they are. I don't care.
Minions.
Ugh.
Very important.
No.
Minions.
But just literally two of them and then a date. And that's enough to get people excited. I'm old. I am an old man. Honestly, because that means, it's like, because there's also that billboard for the Santa Claus movie. Did you see that? Guardians of the Future or something, and Santa Claus has tattoos and he's like a rough and tough Santa. But then even worse, because it's for kids, all right? So it's not an adult thing where if there was a badass mean Santa kicking the shit out of people, maybe I go see that. If it's for adults, if it's written where he's like, fuck you, and he's mean and he takes presents away from everybody, holy shit. Hold on a second, folks, get a pen. Here's my pitch for an adult Santa movie. He's like a jagoff. It's like Bad Santa, but he's really Santa and he's fucking mean and he's instead of like he's kind of like a cross between Santa and the Grinch. What if Santa, you know what? Because they always say Santa's got the naughty and nice list and he goes and he drops stuff off for the nice people, but then the naughty people get nothing. What if instead of that, what if he went to their homes and he murdered them? How great would that be? If Santa appointed himself the keeper of naughty and nice, that'd be perfect, right? But then this kids movie, well, I guess Silent Night, Deadly Night was kind of like a mean Santa, but he wasn't the actual Santa. He was like a guy dressed up as Santa. And then Bad Santa is like literally that, Bad Santa.
Awesome.
Yeah, Bad Santa's a fucking hilarious movie. I saw that part. Brian Noonan and I were on the road, and I oh my god, it was one of my favorite things ever. We did a show. That was the week I got into the fight at the karaoke bar, but it was at the club during karaoke. But yeah, long story. By year 2, it's probably in year 2. I don't know. But Noonan and I used to love going on the road because all right, here's the thing. I love going on the road. I love everything about it but the show. So I would love hanging out during the day, and then there would be that moment where you got in your room at 4:30 and you're just like, oh no, I got a show in 3 hours. Oh fuck. And I would grip, and then I would go to the club, and I would sit there miserable waiting to go on stage, and then I'd go up and I'd do my time, and I'd do very well. Because again, that's the thing. I wasn't a bad comic. Like if I was a shitty comic who bombed all the time, I could understand being upset about going on stage. But I was funny, and I would get laughs, and I was good at it. And then I was miserable, and then I would come off stage, and oh my god, the greatest feeling in the world is coming off stage when you're done, when you're just done. Friday and Saturday are different because you got the two, but just that feeling of relief to be finished. And I, like I said, this is when I was doing a half hour, folks. I mean, because now I go on the road and it's a little longer than that. But yeah, I mean, I would go on the road to clubs and do a half hour. And fuck, I'm just repeating myself now, right? I'm just talking in circles. Jesus Christ, move forward. Stop. Now I'm an old man who's just reminiscing about shit. Now I'm just like, oh, I know another thing that happened once. Fuck. So I was talking about that Santa billboard, man. It's got like a tough guy Santa with tattoos, but then it's got like 3 elves also on the billboard, and I guess obviously they're like, haha, see, it's still a fun movie for kids because there's fun elves. It's like, fuck that. Put on a badass Santa if you want to try to portray that. All right. I don't know why I just saw that. And I'll tell you this again. This anecdote is miserable, but it's been 3 weeks. I have to tell you now. I was driving on Highland to come here. And I've seen this many times, and I've talked about it on the show where I've actually run across it. And I wish I wasn't driving. If I'd been walking, it would have been more fun. But as I was driving, I could see there was a long line of people waiting to turn right on Highland. And on the street right there was a woman standing by, it's not a bus stop, there's like a bench there. And there was a guy with her. And I could see them, and she was obviously getting photos taken. And that happens sometimes here in Hollywood. People will go on the street for a gritty headshot. They'll be up against the wall with a Post-No Bills or something because they want to have a fence, a distressed wood background. Who the fuck knows? I don't know, but I see it all the time. People are taking photos. But then I realized she's wearing a really kind of a sexy outfit and a really short skirt. And he's taking pictures of her, and then she walks over to the bench. And she leans over the bench facing the street. But the photographer does not walk around the bench and photograph her face. She bends over the bench, and he's taking photos of her from the back. So she's got a real short skirt on, and then she bends over, and then he's taking pictures basically of her legs and her heels and her skirt riding up. And which is, I've seen that before too. I've talked about it on here. I was at Tower Records once, and we were all waiting in line for the Kiss box set. It was me, Pat, and Jimmy, and we were waiting in line. And there was a woman, same thing, really short skirt, and she kept bending over, and a guy just kept taking pictures of her. And it was planned. He was there with her. It wasn't like sneaky shots. They were there on purpose, taking pictures in public. They got off on it. That was their thing. So this guy was taking pictures of this girl bent over, and then as I told you there was a ton of people waiting to turn right. Is it Franklin? Is that this road? So we're waiting to turn on we're on Highland waiting to turn on to Franklin. I'm giving your fucking address. Okay. And then we're creeping forward, and I have to wait through several lights. And as we do it, I see he just keeps photographing her. And then she leans back on the bench and she's on the fence, and then she comes around and she sits on the bus stop bench. And as I pull up, she sits on the bus stop bench and he's taking pictures, and then she takes one leg and swings it up on the bus stop bench and keeps the other leg on the ground. And I look, and he's taking pictures, and she's commando. She's got no panties on.
I love LA.
And I got a full-on gupper shot, man. It was like I looked over, and she put her leg up, and she's got, I'm a fan of porn and that kind of stuff, but to see it in front of you and to see the look on her face, she was so happy. Like she was really like kind of, and she had a real great fuck me smile. So, and I was moving, but I saw it. I mean, and look, I'm at the point now where you show me one frame. Like remember in Fight Club when Tyler Durden was cutting in one frame of porno in movies and children would just start crying for no reason, I go the other way. I just go, yeah! Like I can find one frame of porn in anything. I'm a super fast porn viewer. I can see it and identify it immediately. I should be like a porn detective. Like if there's anything that could be porn, I'm going to find it. I'm going to sniff it the fuck out. I am McGruff the porn dog. That's who I am, motherfucker. And you know what? The raincoat has never been more appropriate. Dress me up in a raincoat and send me out as McGruff the porn dog, because I will find it. So out of the corner of my eye, I look, and she's on the bench, and then she sits up and she spreads her legs and puts one up on the bench, and I just get a full-on shot right between her legs of naked glory. And the guy's just taking pictures, and and people start honking their horns, of course, because they're idiots. And I wanted to stop, like, you know, that weird thing where you see, look, people see accidents and they want to stop instinctively and they want to just kind of go by slowly. I don't give a fuck about an accident. I will, on purpose, I put blinders on. If there's an accident or a fire on the freeway, I just drive through, and Karen will be like, did you see that? Nope, I'm driving. I'm not going to be part of the problem. I'm not going to be one of these assholes who slowed down to see somebody changing a tire. I don't give a fuck. I need to get where I'm going. I've been waiting in traffic because other assholes are slowing down. Fuck Gaper's Block. And you know what's funny? That there was Gaper's Block on the freeway, and I'm not interested. But Gasher's Block on Highland, I am in. I am absolutely in for Gasher's Block. I will put, if there's a gash on display, I'm pulling over and checking it out. And everybody can just slow down behind me. Because you know what? Look, come on, folks. How often do you get to see free pussy on the street? Very rarely. And look, I have the internet, so I shouldn't care about that. But live and breathing and in person with a great fuck me smile on her face? Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? I'll pull the car over. I'll valet other cars. I don't care. Just to be in the same vicinity as a woman flashing her fucking, folks, I'm a fan. All right. But instead it was just like super quick. I saw it and I saw her spread her legs and I was like, whoa. And I wanted to hit the brakes, but I knew I would get rear-ended. And I'd already been fucking rear-ended on that road, and it turned into a thing that I don't need to go through again, because this entire show is just about me telling you things that I've already told you in the past. And if that doesn't show you what kind of a fucking brain of a moth I have in my head as I flit around the light bulbs and go from topic to topic, because I meant to tell you, folks, look at that. There was a woman showing her fucking vagina on the street, and I skipped it for 3 weeks. I got sidetracked from that. I could have told you that. If that happens to any of you, that's a story you tell for months. For me, that's a story I wait 3 weeks because I keep forgetting to fucking talk about it. Because I had the best intentions. I wanted to show up here and tell you all about somebody showing her vagina on the goddamn street, and I was into it. But then the next thing you know, we got a fucking gorilla kite with a banana tail flying around.
This is The 40-Year-Old Boy. Coming up next, Name That Ass Print with Mike Mitchell.
I'm going to go to Sacramento on a prison bus for a seatbelt ticket? Because I wanted to be a vampire? God damn it!
The explosions abid. Hear them at MikeSchmidtComedy.com.
Let's talk about important things, folks. No more gorillas in NXS. No more. Not that wasn't important, folks. I mean, look, if you find the world's largest gorilla, that's a story that needs to be discussed, as I've mentioned. There was an election yesterday. Now, look, let me warn you guys, all right? I know you're sick of it. Okay, I know you're sick of it, and now you're turning this off. I'm sure the word election made you fucking flee in terror. Your ears are bleeding. I have no idea. But I got to talk about it because that's what I do. I talk about what happened or what's going to happen or things like that. And rest assured that you're probably not going to like some of the things that I say. Some of you aren't. Some of you might. I have no idea. But who gives a shit? It's a podcast, right? And give me once every 4 years, give me this. You know what I mean? It's like because in 2008 I talked about it and I will. All right, let me tell you what I was originally going to do this week. All right, here was the original plan. I didn't talk about this at all last week, and then when I finished the show and I went home, in my head I went, fuck, I didn't even talk about like the election coming up or any of that stuff. And I actually was going to call Lily and go, dude, I want to do like a weird bonus show for the weekend that talks about the election and kind of, previews it and all that sort of stuff. And then I went, that's just fucking dumb. I mean, because then, Lily's super busy and I can't fucking get a hold of her to do that. And then if I start monkeying with you guys, all of a sudden, hey, guess what? There's a bonus show on Sunday. You guys are going to be like, what the fuck, dude? We hear from you once a week and you talk forever. We don't need to get bonus shows and all this other bullshit shoved down our throat. And I understand that. That's fine. Good for you. But then, days went past, and I have that news fetish thing where I want to be the first guy to bring you stuff, and I wanted to be on the record with stuff, and I wanted to talk, and I wanted to tell you things, and I wanted to make sure you knew where I stood, for no reason, because you don't care. Nobody cares. And you shouldn't, because I will tell you this. Anything I say here is for comedy purposes, and I'm being funny. And so you shouldn't get mad about anything that I say, because you shouldn't put any import on anything that I'm going to say. Because I am Podcast Jones. That's all that I am. I'm a guy. I'm your internet chum who shows up once a week, and then we talk and we have a good time, and then I disappear for another week. So actually what I considered doing was, you know what? Fuck it. Why am I telling people not to be mad at me? I don't give a shit if people are mad at me. Who the fuck cares, right?
Just tell them not to email.
Yeah. Well, I don't even give a shit. No, because they will email, because that happened in 2008 when I talked about the fucking election and all that shit. I got people out the ass who sent me stuff and tell me I was stupid or I was wrong or whatever. And it's going to fucking happen now anyway. It doesn't matter, because there are people who listen who don't feel the same way that I feel, or who maybe feel way too much the way that I feel. Because that's the thing is I will, let me just go ahead and I'll just tell you this right now, folks. I don't fucking care about any of this. I really don't. I don't. I mean, the election was coming up and I was seeing what was happening. And look, I knew who I was voting for and I knew which way I was leaning, because there are certain things that are important to me. All right. People are talking about the economy and how we're never going to pay back China. I don't give a fuck about China. I don't care about the money we owe China. I don't give a fuck about the economy. I don't give a shit. Because you know what? I'm going to do what I have to do, period. I'm going to wake up and do what I can, and I do this show, and I hopefully can get a job. My wife can get a job, and the overall economy, the umbrella of the economy in Wall Street, that shit doesn't affect me at all. And I know there are people out there now they're clucking their tongues like, yes, it does, Mike, and here's why. I don't give a shit. Don't type it. I don't care. I don't. I don't understand the people who got so mad and so angry and so invested, and then because the only people at all, all right, the only people at all that should have been super invested in this election, there's two types of people, all right? There's two classes of people who should have been very invested in how this election went. And those people are women and racists. That's the only two people who should have cared that deeply about this election, because women needed to care because there was one side of this election that wanted to sew up their vaginas for good. They wanted to make them like the Batcave. They wanted to build like a gate and a bunch of hedges outside of it. And it's a secret place that no one else can find. And you can only exit from it. I mean, that's what people, they just want women to make sure that their vaginas are never talked about or on display. They want to clean up the bus stops in this town. That's what these motherfuckers want to do. I want nothing to do with that, all right? Anybody who's anti-vagina, get fucking lost. I'm tired of it. Vaginas are perfect. Let them be. If anything, make them better. Do everything you can to bring vaginas out into the open. Leave vagina food everywhere for them to go ahead and come out of the woods and enjoy themselves. Anybody who's trying to shut that down, get fucking bombed. Jump off a cliff. Honestly. So women needed to be invested because guys were coming in and telling them, hey, by the way, your vaginas, you can't use them anymore. I don't know why they were doing that, but they were. And also saying, hey, if anything gets in your vagina, you have to keep it in there. It has to stay in there for 9 months. And then when it comes out, you have to love it. No, they don't. They don't have to love it. You can't tell people what they have to do. Regulating abortion, coming out in favor of rape and all this. Like, every time a guy would say something about rape, how do you, look, if a guy said something about rape and he's like, all right, if it's not legitimate rape, that's fine. Whatever. Good for you. You feel that way. Please know that you're never getting into office ever in a million years, and you're fucking crazy. We all think that you're crazy. So the first guy comes out and says the legitimate rape thing, and everybody's like, oh, that's fucking awful, and they crucify that guy. So what happens? 4 more dudes come out and say that rape is okay. One guy's like, hey, rape is a gift from God. And the other guy's like, hey, if there's a rape baby, you got to keep it, but you got to dress him in a criminal outfit. Everybody's got some rule about rape. I got a rule. Don't rape anybody. How about that? Is that a good rule?
Yay!
Jesus Christ. Just the sheer lack of common sense that would lead you to answer a rape question keeps you out of office. Literally, that disqualifies you from consideration of ever being elected to any office in the land if you're willing to entertain a question about rape and answer it in a way where you're in favor of the rape in some way. Qualifying abortion, all these qualifiers. Look, you were either for abortion or you're against abortion. And if you're against abortion, I understand that. That's your religion and that's the way to be and that's fine. But keep it in your house. I don't understand why you continue to try to legislate behavior. If you don't want to have an abortion, don't have an abortion. Don't. If you're a guy who has an opinion on abortion, here's what you should do. Never open your fucking mouth about it ever in a million years. Because it has nothing to do with you. Unless it's you and the person you knocked up and you're having that discussion, that's fine. Then guess what? You're 50% of that decision. But if you're just a guy in general commenting about abortion, just shut the fuck up. Shut up. You have a cock. You don't get to talk about it. It's not your plumbing. Wrong plumbing. You have the wrong plumbing to give an opinion on abortion, especially if you're talking for Jesus. Really? Your ghostly friend says that we shouldn't have abortions? Well, conception and life, and it starts then, and then she's going to have to pay for it, and it's against God. Well, then she'll have to talk to your ghost friend when she dies. Because that's a choice that she made, and it wasn't an easy choice. It's not like anybody's just like, oh, good, I can't wait to have an abortion so that I can go get some tacos. Nobody does it that lightly. That's a decision a woman has to make for herself within her body, and it's a decision she has to live with for the rest of her life. And according to you, if she's going to get punished by Jesus, well, fine. Then when she dies, she will float up into the sky and wind up in a conference room on a cloud with a bunch of guys with wings. And then the head of the winged people will come in his robe with his beard, and he will yell at her for her abortion choice. But you don't get to do that because you don't live in the sky, and your beard is not nearly that nice. I don't get it. I don't understand legislating people's behavior. It's just, it's going to happen. And those people who try to qualify abortion, guys who are like, well, I'm against abortion unless there was some sort of rape or incest. And then no, you don't get to do that. You either kill a baby or you don't kill a baby. All right? And by the way, I use the term baby in the loosest possible terms I could possibly ever do. Because nobody is scooping up a fucking thing of placenta and putting it in a blanket and rocking it to fucking sleep. All right? Conception, babies, who the fuck knows? I don't know. That's the point. Again, I'm a dumb fuck who dropped out of high school and has a podcast. But I know enough to stay out of the decision. I know enough to know that I don't know enough to know. Rape and incest. If you're a man and you're concerned about babies from rape and incest, you're on the wrong side of the issue. Don't care about the baby. Why don't you catch the fucking rapist or the incest dude? Yep. Let the woman handle her business. You go ahead and catch the rapist or the incest guy and take care of that motherfucker. I don't get it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we still talk about this. I don't understand why it's still an issue. I don't. Everybody keeps saying, oh, they're going to repeal Roe versus Wade. Why? It's been there. It's been the law of the land for 40 years. And people still, it's funny. I heard somebody talking about the situation we were in with women and rape. And they were saying, oh, if Bill Hicks was alive, if George Carlin was alive, imagine what they would say about this. If Bill Hicks was alive, he'd be embarrassed that we were still discussing this. He would come back from the dead, and he'd be with another winged dude with a beard, and then he'd come out and they'd say, "Hey, how do you feel about abortion?" He'd go, "We're still talking about this? Kill me again." I would rather go through pancreatic cancer a second time and die painfully than realize that we are not past abortion yet as a society. And by the way, if you're religious and you believe in the things that you believe in for your religion, that's okay for you. I'm not shitting on you. I'm not shitting on your religion. Please know I believe the things that I believe, and I think it's cool that you believe the things that you believe, as long as it stays in your house. Don't fucking come out and start telling people how they should behave because you're the man in the sky said this. I don't care. I don't care. You believe in God, you believe in the Bible and all that stuff. That's great. Believe me, my wife is very religious. She's not real happy with me a lot of the time these days. Because I made the mistake of saying something once and she gave me this look like she didn't know me. And part of me was like, hey, you've been with me for 20 years, whatever. And look, I've yo-yoed back and forth. Like, I don't know what I believe. Like, part of me has, I used to pray at night. And then part of me was like, are you doing this because you believe it? Are you doing this as an insurance policy just in case? I needed to find that out for myself because, and honestly, if that's an insurance policy, it's the worst and weirdest insurance policy in the world. Hey, I'm praying to you, fake guy in the sky, hoping that maybe you exist at some point, but if you don't, I'm okay because I also don't think so. But if you are there, I'm covered because I asked you to please bless my mom. I mean, it's the dumbest thing in the world. Pick a side, man. You can't be halfway. You can't have one foot in heaven. You can't. You need to decide. And I still don't know. Like I said, I mean, fuck, I know. We all know. All right, there's no God, right? We all know that. It's a joke, folks. Enjoy yourselves. Because I picture people just going, "What?" I don't know. That's the point. To me, I think it's more brave to say you don't know than to have blind faith in something you're not sure exists. I mean, sure, I hope that there's a grandfather in the sky who loves us all and is going to tell us stories around a campfire when we die. That'd be fucking fantastic. I just don't know if it's true. Because at the same time, I'm supposed to believe that same grandfather in the sky is mad at me because I jerked off. Like, I don't know. My brother Lenny had a great joke. He used to tell it, and it was about how, God, I got to remember the way it was, but it was about how the Bible is written by men. And how in a court of law you have to swear on a Bible that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and any evidence based on hearsay is not admitted in a court of law. However, you're swearing to tell the truth on a book built entirely on hearsay.
Yep.
I was always jealous of that joke because he also told it much better than I just did. But also, it was just, he told that joke once, and I was like, God damn, that's a fucking genius joke, dude. That's great. Because it's totally right. I mean, the people who run for the shelter of the Bible are people who don't have the confidence in themselves to live a life, in my opinion. And if you believe other things, that's cool. How did I get into this mess? Jesus Christ, I got to climb my way out of here. What I almost did, I was going to do 2 shows. I thought about doing 2 shows, and then I thought about just doing, I was going to come and record with Lily. I asked Lily, I go, how do you feel about me doing a show on Election Day? And she was all for it. And so I was going to record a show yesterday because I wanted, and I was going to put it out last night because I wanted it to kind of be topical and on point. And because also the plan, I talked to Mex about it, and he's like, well, are you going to do like a show just about the election, previewing the election? And I said, yeah, I think so. And then we talked about it. And he was like, well, why don't you do it? I said, because I want to get it out there. And he said, well, why don't you do 2 shows? Why don't you do a show like before and after? Like, so then when people will hear how you felt beforehand and then see where you are afterwards. I'm like, actually, that's a great idea. Because I was going to record with Lily leading up to the election. Then after everything, I was going to come and record a second show. But I honestly, yesterday, I woke up at 3. And I was supposed to be at Lily's place at 3. I woke up at 3:15, and she was still in traffic, I think. She's like, I won't be home till 4, and I had to work last night. And then I wanted to see the election returns, and I just you know what? Let's just scotch this whole fucking idea. It's fine. Let me point this out too. When I say I wanted to see the election returns, I really enjoyed the night of the presidential election. It was fun to watch, and it used to be really exciting where they'd come in with the returns and they didn't know what was going to be happening and everything. But Twitter and Facebook have put a crimp in that. Not even a crimp. You know what really has done it? I'm old. All right. I seriously, when I was a kid, it was exciting. I would sit there and I was a news junkie, and I told you I would read 5 newspapers a day, and I was all into the news. But now everything is so quick. You get news quickly on the internet, and you get news quickly on Twitter. And I followed Nate Silver. All right, Nate Silver is a guy. If you don't know who he is at 538. He has a 538 blog, which is on the New York Times. I think it's 538.com. The New York Times actually, they host his content. Like, he doesn't work for them. They basically pay him to be affiliated with them because he's bigger almost than the New York Times, certainly around election years. Nate Silver is a mathematician / professional poker player / genius. And I knew him from baseball because he came up with a system called PECOTA. which was a way of comparing players, and I've been using that for fantasy baseball when I was playing. My friend Paul Labencio and I would always get the baseball prospectus. We got into that. We started reading it, and we started reading Pacoda to help us with our fantasy teams. We loved it. So I love numbers. I'm fascinated by math. And I should tell you, I'm not the king of. I can do numbers quickly in my head, but like as far as geometry and moving into algebra and all that shit, I never wanted to show my work. I'm not that guy, folks. I don't want to show my work. I just want to give you the goddamn answer, as you know. But the process of numbers and seeing where they go and being able to crunch them and come up with situations and solutions via numbers always fascinated me. So. Nate Silver fascinated me, and I followed him for a long time. And then when he started doing the political stuff, I've been reading him for. I read him over at Daily Kos when he was there doing stuff under the what was his name? Poblano? I forget his fucking name. He had I forget his pseudonym that he used. But then he got outed as that guy, and then of course he started doing the 538. Blah blah blah. Who cares? But I've been reading him, and in 2008, I think he got 48 of the 50 states correct, telling you who would win the election. And then in 2010, he did the same thing. Like he was right on point for all the Republicans who were going to be taking seats in the House and all that sort of stuff. So reading him is fun, and you feel kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. At least I did, because nobody knew who he was until this year when he blew up huge and everybody started talking about him. And not only were they talking about him like, wow, you should really see his numbers because they're great and they show you the way things are going to turn out, but even better, the people who didn't agree with his numbers then started to attack him and say that he was a biased guy and he was a jerk and he was biased and he was clouding things up and he was putting his own spin on and like, dude, you can't argue with math. You can't. That's what drives me crazy. These Stone Age motherfuckers who not only want to tell a woman how to behave and how she has to do things with her body, but they're fighting with math. Math has been around fucking forever. Math has figured out the reason we're here is because of math. Honestly, it figures out everything in space and it figures out everything on Earth. And again, I'm a dummy. I don't know anything about it, but I do know that you respect numbers and you respect math and you respect data. Data tells you everything. But then these motherfuckers like Peggy Noonan, who used to write speeches for Ronald Reagan, she comes out and she wrote a column the day before the election. She goes, it feels like Romney. Like it feels like a real Romney landslide, you know, and they're doing these stupid things. Again, it's funny because when Nate Silver used to do baseball stuff, when he came up with Pacoda, all the old scouts, look at Moneyball. This is just a Moneyball issue. All right. If you read Moneyball or saw the movie Moneyball, where anybody who shows up with numbers gets ridiculed by the old timey guys because they want to tell you, you know what? I'll tell you that kid, he looks good in a uniform. Well, so fucking what? What does that mean? It means nothing. Look at his numbers. It'll tell you what he does. I don't give a fuck how he fills out a pair of pants. So then when you start using the math for politics, the reason these people are attacking math is because they know they are out of a fucking job. Out of a job. Because like I said, if you can take me away from election night, which I used to find the most exciting night because I would sit there and the returns would be coming in and they'd be saying this state is breaking this way and this state is going this way and there's holograms and there's, fucking used to be Tim Russert with a whiteboard and they're playing Hangman and all this bullshit is happening. They're spinning everything the way that they possibly can. And it's just, you know what you're watching? It's the Super Bowl. It's just football. That's all you're watching. When you watch politics and you watch all that stuff, it dawned on me, like I said, when you get the numbers, if you get to the fierce, raw data, you know what the fuck is going to happen. Coming into the election last night, Nate Silver said that Obama, on the morning of, because he's been changing it, it's been going on, and the first debate in Denver was disastrous, but all it did was it cut Obama's chances to like 64%, I think it was. But other people, though, however, like Andrew Sullivan, they went crazy, and they said he lost the election that day, and everybody was, the momentum for Romney, and it's so funny if you look at that dichotomy, you look at the people who are their gut and the signs and, people they're energized for Romney on the road and it's showing me that the momentum is turning. And then Nate Silver would go, look at these numbers. Look at the data. That's all you need to see because I should tell you that it nipped it in the bud for me. I wanted to watch the election returns last night. I couldn't because as I watched it, look, here's who I am as a guy. I'm a burn it down guy. All right. I don't give a fuck anymore about anything ever. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, gas prices and the economy and all that bullshit, it would be the same with Romney in office as it would be with Obama in office. None of that means anything to me. I cast my vote for the guy that I felt was not going to bring us back to the 50s. That was the only thing. Because Romney, talking about war with Iran and like I said, trying to legislate women in their bodies, and that I cast my vote for women last night. That was the main reason I voted, because it doesn't affect me in the least. I mean, I still have to get up in the morning, and I still live in a 1-bedroom apartment for 15 fucking years, and I still work as a fucking security guard at night in Graveyardville, and that's that. Nothing Obama does is going to fucking change that. So that's why it makes me laugh when I get up in the morning. I see people like, "Oh, thank God, Obama!" They're like celebrating and high-fiving like they won the Super Bowl. It's like, dude, okay, you still get to go to the fucking office today, or you don't. You get to sit home and do nothing today, or whatever the fuck you've got going on in your life. Obama's not going to be able to fix that for you. You need to fix yourself. You need to take care of your own business. But again, like I said, the only people who should be completely invested were women, because now they're not going to have invasive wands jammed into their vaginas, and racists who, unfortunately, now that Obama is in office, are going to have invasive wands jammed into their vaginas. So, but I don't give a fuck. I just don't care. I don't. So I don't read newspapers anymore. I get all my stuff on the internet. I watch the Daily Show and Colbert, and I've compartmentalized my desire to know. All right, I still need to know things, and I still want to have them all, but I just want them quickly, and I want them very fast. I want them on Twitter, and I want it on Facebook, or not Facebook, just online. You know what I mean? I can't sit there and pretend that I'm in suspense anymore. Like I said, watching the election returns last night, Nate Silver yesterday morning before the election, his last call was 92% for Obama. 92%. And like I said, they started to attack Nate Silver. They started to attack him, said he was biased. They attacked. You can't fuck with math. You can't. And sure enough, he had 44 of the first 44 states correct. 44 out of 44. The first that fell, he was right. He's actually right about 49 of 50 of them. And the only one that might still be is Florida. And he wasn't sure. He had Florida at like 49.075 and 49.067. Like it was that close. So I couldn't watch the returns last night because in my head I knew. I was willing to take what he had done in the past and trust it. And when that happens, and you go on and you watch these people losing their minds on television and pushing maps and saying, "Oh my gosh, you don't know what the voting's coming in from Broward County." No, we know, we do know. And all of those people realize that they are obsolete. Because if you take the numbers and you work them properly, you will be able to see what's going to happen. The only thing that freaked me out was people who were like Peggy Noonan and Dick Morris and these people who were saying they were predicting a Romney landslide. And those are the words that they were using. And George Will, too. George Will said a Romney landslide. And then they said that Romney's internal polling showed him winning Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Florida and Michigan. And that stuff started to flood out. All right. And that, I will admit, got me worried. Not because I thought it was true, but because I thought that they were throwing all of that out there so when the election was super close, they could then say, well, wait, all of our numbers said that we were going to win and all of their numbers said that they were going to win. So obviously there's something mixed up and crazy. We need to have a recount. We need to figure it all. Like I thought it was more obfuscation. I thought it was more because, look, we all lived through 2000 and even 2004 when it looked like things were going one way and then they weren't. And then Florida and Ohio, which are just the bastard children of this fucking country. What is it? Look, because the thing is, Florida, we could cut loose. Like if we could detonate charges and we could just let them float out and be like, other Cuba. Why not? Why couldn't we do that? Let's just blow it up and let it float out into the ocean and be other Cuba. Why not? It wouldn't be a problem. I don't know what we're going to do about Ohio. I don't know. I get, because you can't blow them up. They're landlocked. We got to figure out, what do they provide? What does Ohio give us? Tires. Yeah, they give us tires too. That sucks. They're like the rubber capital, right? Akron, I think, right? That's what they have. Because I've been in Ohio. I've played in Columbus. I've been in Lima. Oh my God, what a depressing place Lima, Ohio is. I drove into Lima, Ohio, and I was waiting to see Michael Moore interviewing people who own a rabbit farm on the side of the road. I mean, it was like, Lima is the Flint of Ohio. I mean, it was just fucking grim. And it always seemed like I would drive into Ohio whenever we go in, from Illinois, I'd have to drive a certain route and you'd come in on this big bridge and it would just say, you are now entering Ohio. And in parentheses, it might as well just said, sigh. You're going to be here for a while. And I had a good time in Cincinnati and I had a good time when I went and did Cleveland. But Jesus, I don't know what's going on with you people because it just always turns into a circus. Even when there's not an election, it's a circus out there. There's, bath salts in Florida and zombies in Ohio. And what the fuck is wrong with you people? All right, so I'm lost. I'm ahead of myself here. I get screwed up. I need Nate Silver to run the numbers on how entertaining this show is. 0%. But the point is that I thought that they were coming up with all these numbers to cloud because they couldn't really believe if they saw the numbers that Nate Silver had and other people had too. Sam Wang, I think, is a professor, another guy. These people had numbers that said that Obama was going to win big. And they've been saying that for weeks. And also like in trade, there's places you could bet on the election or Obama was a huge favorite. But these people kept coming up with these numbers for Romney, these landslide numbers. And I was like, are they just trying to fuck with people? And then I watched last night. I did watch some of the returns. I couldn't watch ABC for long. I did see Diane Sawyer loaded out of her fucking mind. I don't know what that was. I don't even think she was drunk. I thought she was on Ambien or something because she was just floating. I mean, she was absolutely on a Xanax and a half. I don't know. She did something wrong because she was out of it. Even Stephanopoulos is looking at her like, really, this is happening on election night? And then they throw it over to Katie Couric to talk about Twitter. Oh my God, what is wrong with the networks, dude? They're just like, hey, because my favorite part is they deal with Twitter as if you're at home and you have no idea what Twitter is. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't use it. So they'll go, we're keeping an eye on some of the tweets of famous people tonight. Oh my God, no, you're not. All you're doing is filling time in the studio. Just, you know what? Show me some fucking Laverne and Shirley reruns and come back and tell me who won. That's it. I don't care. You're all obsolete. Nate Silver has crushed you. I watched ABC for a while, like I said, with Diane Sawyer. I watched NBC to see Lester Holt and then Brian Williams I love it when they tag off too. When they're like, Lester Holt has to work during the day and then they're like, they bring in the good guy. Like they go and get the closer, Brian Williams, and he has to come in. And Chuck Todd is off at a map somewhere. It's just so weird to watch. And you watch CBS, and then I flipped to I wound up watching Fox. All right, because I went to MSNBC, and I like Rachel Maddow, and Chris, whatever the fuck, those people are fine. But I wanted to see Fox because I wanted to see everything fall apart. That's what I really wanted to see. Because again, I was fully confident that Obama was going to win, so I wanted to see how they dealt with it, and I was not disappointed, man. I watched Bill O'Reilly talk about how this isn't a traditional America anymore, and white America's votes. He said people want things. White America is not in charge anymore. I watched Karl Rove argue with them to tell them that they shouldn't call Ohio, and he's explaining how there's like he was in full-on Captain Queeg mode with fucking ball bearings in his hand, and he's spinning them, and he's trying everything he can to save it. And they're like, again, they should have just said, you can't argue with math. But he had alternate math, like weird math, and he's trying to come through. And it just shows you how out of touch they are. Neil Cavuto was on, and he was talking to people like Grover Norquist was in there, and all these, dude, those Fox white dudes, man. It is white dudes and blonde sharks. Those women, those blonde sharks that they hire. It is so crazy to watch this whitewash. It is just mayonnaise and bags of flour telling you about what's happening. And Neil Cavuto is talking to Lou Dobbs, and Lou Dobbs is sobbing basically about how America's over and how immigrants are going to take over. And I mean, just these weird things. And my favorite part is the election is called for Obama. I saw them call it, and they started to lose their minds because they couldn't believe they were calling it so early. And then to see them explain to you why you should be scared now about the coming 4 years, when in reality, that we just did the past 4 years. He didn't take our guns. He's not a Muslim. He's not from Kenya. None of the bullshit you said was going to happen happened. And now you're trying to tell me it's going to happen in the next 4 years? Because now they're like, oh, well, now he doesn't have to worry about pleasing anybody. He doesn't have another 4 years to worry about getting. This is his final term. So now he's really going to come out guns blazing. And I'm like, you're not going to scare me. You're not going to. You shouldn't be able to scare anybody because he's a human being. He's not. You can't demonize him anymore. And he won a second election. So you don't get to say, oh, well, this isn't our country anymore. No, people wanted him a second time. Whether it's split down the middle, it doesn't matter. He won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College. You can't argue anymore. He now should be allowed to govern. He should be allowed to do the things that he wants to do. He should be able to go ahead and everything. Like, he doesn't have a mandate. It's so fucking brutal, the spin that comes out of everybody. Watching Fox and seeing them fall apart. Neil Cavuto said that now they started to talk about how you shouldn't have early voting. There shouldn't be any early voting. You should only be able to vote on Election Day. Well, you see what a fucking circus Election Day is in Florida and Ohio and everywhere else. I have my own story about it. I'll get to it in a second. But they were talking about how you should ban early voting. And Neil Cavuto's ruling was, he goes, you should ban early voting. He goes, what if you vote 2 weeks before the election and there's a sex scandal? He goes, you can't change your vote. Is that not the best thing that a 60-year-old white guy could say ever now in the society we live in? Oh, there might be a sex scandal. Wouldn't you want to change your vote for a sex scandal? No. Nobody cares about sex scandals. Nobody. You only care about our sex scandals. All right, look, I don't want to draw that line in the sand, but you only care about Democrats' sex scandals because like they're trying to pin Bob Melendez. They're saying he was banging chicks and he might have been dating hookers in New Jersey, and they got his no shit. They got his neighbors to say he kept having loud sex above us in the apartment above us. Good for him. I'm glad he's getting his tension out there instead of trying to go to war with Iran. How come that's a sex scandal, but this guy, this motherfucker, David, whatever, in New Orleans who's wearing diapers with hookers, and you guys don't care about it? You don't mention that. And that's why I'm saying I can't watch it anymore. I can't see the spin. I can't watch them try to tell me I should be scared. Just like I can't watch people tell me I need to be scared of Romney. I wasn't scared of Mitt Romney. I don't like what he thought. I don't think that you should be making women baby factories. I mean, I don't believe in the things that he believes in, but I'm not scared because he was a Mormon. I mean, is it fucking crazy? Yes. But I mean, they're all crazy. All of those things are crazy, as I mentioned earlier. And although you may have turned off the show, who fucking knows? I have no clue. But you know what's funny? Mitt Romney, let's talk about this for just a second. Mitt Romney gave his concession speech last night. And I saw some people say that they didn't care for it. And then I saw some people say it was very elegant or whatever. You know what I saw when I saw it? I saw a human being who was tired. And he was finally happy to be done with whatever the fuck he was trying to do. Because he just sat there. He looked like a guy who needed a nap. Like a fucking 2-day nap. He had dark circles under his eyes. I mean, because that's, I can't even imagine how hard of a job it is to be running for president and to have to lie to everybody all the goddamn time and try to trick them into voting for you. Because that's all you're doing. That's all he was doing. He kept changing his opinions and changing his positions every other fucking day, no matter who he was in front of. It had to be hard for him to keep track of who he was as a guy, eventually. The only 2 times I saw any real life out of Mitt Romney where I actually went, oh, that's a guy that I actually find interesting, there was 2 times. Once at that we don't believe in the 47% people, that thing that was surreptitiously filmed from a breadbasket or whatever the fuck they... Literally, some waiter planted a camera amidst the breadsticks, and they caught Mitt Romney saying that. And you know what else they caught? They caught Mitt Romney being human and actually talking like a normal person. And you went, oh, he really believes this. That's not cool. And then he tried to spin his way out of it and say, no, of course I believe in everybody. And like, no, bullshit. We saw you. And also at the same time, if he was that guy on the campaign trail, I think he would have had a better chance of winning. If he hadn't been caught, of course, as they filmed from a butter dish, him talking about how half the country can go fuck themselves. But he was engaged. He was interesting. And another time that I saw that is, did you see this video of him talking at a radio station about Mormonism? All right, that went around. It was like 6 minutes long. And it was him having an engaged conversation with a disc jockey person, talk show host, who was questioning him about Mormonism. And he's going on and he's talking about his religion and his faith. And then he starts talking about Jesus coming back in Jerusalem, and then also he's going to be in Missouri in 1,000 years, and they're going to rule. Look, I don't pretend to even know. Like I said, Catholics, I was taught that there's a grandfather in the sky who judges whether or not I should jerk off. So I have no... I think it's all fucking ridiculous. Okay, I think it's all Saturday morning cartoons, and good for you. Whichever one you want to watch is great. But that was the only time I saw Mitt Romney really interesting and engaged and passionate about anything. And he was talking about Jesus coming to Missouri. The rest of the time he went, hey, you know what? I should try to make myself look like a kindly grandmother. Because every time he had that beatific look on his face where he was just kind of smiling, and he'd smile at Obama and he'd tilt his head and he'd look around. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy because everybody said he's a robot, he's this, he's that. Yes, because he had to put on that weird fucking Yul Brynner faceplate to pretend that he didn't believe the things that he really believed. But he had to do it. He had to, because if he would have got out there and started talking about magic underwear and Joseph Smith and digging up shit and Jesus in Missouri and we used to have 1 million wives, do you think anybody was going to vote for that dude? Sadly, you know what? Yes, half the country still would have because they hate the black guy. Exactly. They would have said, oh, Jesus is coming to Missouri. I'm in if it means the black guy is out. If it means the black guy won't come to Missouri, please, by all means, let that happen. Any of that crazy bullshit that he would have spouted, it would have made people think twice. But again, they hate the black guy so much they would have been like, yes, I don't care. I'm in. But my God, to watch him sit there and try to fucking just restrain himself, and how galling must it have been for him to even run against a black guy when the Mormon church didn't even recognize black people as people until like 1970. So he's probably like, why am I running against this space alien? I've never seen a dude like this before. And again, if you want to believe that shit, that's fine. You want to be a Mormon? Cool for you. You want to be a Buddhist? Go right ahead. I don't care. Whatever gets you through your life, that's fantastic. But that's the point. It should get you through your life. Don't try to change other people and make them believe the things that you believe. That just seems ridiculous to me. Live your life the way you want to live it and don't worry about anybody else. That's a pretty good religion. That's the religion of Mike. Let's call it that. The religion of Mike. Let's call it the religion of the 40-year-old boy. Just fucking live your life and don't worry about what anybody else does at all. At all. Raise yourself, raise your bomb pops and your Chinese ricks to respect other people and everything will be fine. Jesus Christ. Can't you people get that through your heads? And then even worse is like, you know, the election happened last night and Obama wins. And I honestly, I went on Facebook today looking for Schadenfreude. I wanted to see people whining and I found it, man. I saw people were like, oh my God, I need to pray to Jesus because now this isn't our country anymore. And it's like, what the fuck? Where have you been the last 4 years? You're fine. You're fine. Well, no, we've lost this and we've lost that. Yes, but that's not on Obama. That's on the world. The world is changing. Everything's changing and people can't handle it. Christ, 4 years ago, I was a 1-year podcaster, spurred into this by rage and spite. Look at me now, 4 years later. Same dude, Stripper's Kitchen, I'm here. We're in this together, folks. We're going through it together, is my point. There's no reason to get upset. Live your life. Live your fucking life. It doesn't change anything. Quit telling people how to behave. Because you're your guy who lives in the earth or the sky or wherever the fuck your Jesus lives. I don't know. I know Jesus lives upstairs and then the devil lives downstairs. And it's funny. Karen is like, she's Catholic. And we'll talk about it. And she has her own theories about stuff. Like and you know what though? But that's the way it should be. Because I'll tease her about her beliefs sometimes, about things that she believes. But you know what? You should be able to make it anything you want. Like, you know, I've talked to other people that are like, well, Jesus is in the sky. And of course the devil's in the hell. And well, where is hell? Well, my wife is like, well, hell doesn't exist. And then she has a whole other theory on it. And it's against what you would read in the Bible or against what other Catholic people would think and all that kind of bullshit. And again, that's fine. If she wants to live her life that way, that's cool. But you should be able to make it all up. You should be able to do that. You should be like, oh, my Jesus is the best. He lives in the sky and he hangs out with Quick Draw McGraw and Bullwinkle. It's fucking amazing. Because a gunfighting horse and a talking moose who hangs out with a fucking flying squirrel is just as believable to me. To me. As a guy who lives in the sky with his dad. Because then I've also heard Jesus is God and there's like God is the same as Jesus. And look, if you can't get your own bullshit story straight, how the fuck am I supposed to be on board? Yeah, he died and then he came back 3 days later. He's a zombie, but he's okay and he's pretty cool and he's got a nice beard and he looks great. I don't care. I don't care. If you believe it, great. If you live your life that way and you want to teach your kids that, and as long as you teach the same message of tolerance that guy with the beard and the robe taught, okay? That's the thing. And here in LA, we had these props that you could vote on, okay? And you had to vote whether porn stars had to wear condoms in their movies, which is fucking ludicrous that it came up for a vote. I don't even know how it made it to the ballot. And then even worse, it passed. It passed. You might as well just call this the death of porn amendment because, first of all, they're going to make porn. They're just not going to make it in LA anymore. Do you know how much money you just cost this fucking state as all of the porn people hop in their porn van and drive to fucking Porn Vegas to shoot there where anything fucking goes? That's where all the money's going to go now. And I guess they're not fleeing. Production's not fleeing just yet. They said they're going to go to court and see what they can do. Well, good luck. I mean, you know, why would you even spend your porn? I would just, out of spite, I would pick up the whole porn production and bail. Just go right to Vegas. Make it Porn Valley. Or I would even go to the desert, somewhere in between Vegas and fucking Prim, and just build like a porn haven and have like a porn land. I'm not kidding. Like a Disneyland for porn. Like you can just show up and there's big hotels and everybody can walk in and just get fucked and do all that. And then you don't have to wear condoms. Do whatever the fuck you want. Right there in the middle of the desert. It's like international waters. When they say let's go out to international waters and anything can happen out there, fine. Anything can happen in the desert. That's the way it should be. Porn land. Porn haven. Why are you even voting on whether these people have to wear condoms or not? They said it's a health issue. It's not a health issue. There's been 2 cases. Like one guy got AIDS, and then of course he gave like 4 other people AIDS in fucking porno, and then there was a guy who had hepatitis. Mr. Marcus had hepatitis, and he gave another girl hepatitis. And that was enough to put it on the ballot that we should vote whether these people have to wear condoms or not. And if you're a Catholic and you voted for that, fuck you. Because I thought birth control wasn't in your fucking plan. But you know that's who was behind it. Like a lot of religious people were behind that because they don't like porn. Well, fuck, I thought you didn't like condoms either. Well, no, we like porn, but you gotta have condoms with it. I don't even know the logic anymore. You guys can't keep your own bullshit story straight. Because also on the same fucking ballot, we had to vote whether or not to abolish the death penalty here in California. And guess what? We didn't. We kept the death penalty. Oh, and we kept condoms. So you know what? Just tear your Bible in half and throw it in the fire. Because what happened to thou shalt not kill, right? Wasn't that in your book? Well, it's different. These people deserve it. Why did they deserve it? Well, because they did this terrible thing. So what if they did a terrible thing? Isn't your man in the sky going to sort all that out later? Well, we shouldn't be paying to keep these people alive. Why not? Charity and goodwill and all that sort of thing? Well, yes, but these people have forfeited the charity and goodwill by the terrible actions that they performed. Well, okay. I guess Jesus better come down and clear everything up then. Let me just look at my watch. I'll set it and wait. Either you believe in your book or you don't believe in your book. Don't pick and choose. Because it says right there in your book, in like Leviticus 14:11 or whatever the fuck it is, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death and I plan on having sex, I will not worry about having a baby because I will have a condom on. And I know that no matter what crimes I commit, they will not put me to death because it says it right in the first chapter of this goddamn book. It says it right in there. You don't think so? I think it does. I haven't gotten, I'm just barely through Leviticus. I'm guessing. Look, from what I've read of Leviticus so far, I'm pretty sure that's going to be written later in there. Because I think 9 people already got stoned to death in this book. I don't understand why people want to tell people how to behave and tell people what to do. And in the name of religion or in the name of anything else. I voted yesterday. I voted at the, all right, last time I voted in the same place I've always voted at. Okay. It's an old folks home by my house, which is convenient because it is staffed with nothing but the ancient. Oh my Christ. The aged and bent and toothless old crones have come out in mass. And I went there. It was, polls open at 7 a.m. So I said, I'm voting early. I asked Karen if she wanted to go. She couldn't. She had to work. She was going later in the afternoon. So I went myself. And I showed up right at 5 to 7, and there was a line already outside. And I stood in line, and it was fun because people had kind of that conviviality of, well, yay, we're all in this together. But there were also people hanging around. It's funny, Lily had mentioned this too, but there were people taking pictures at my polling place and saying they were there in case there was a disturbance. They wanted to film it, and they wanted to be there in case anything bad happened. Which I don't even know what that means. I mean, I guess because there were all these bullshit stories about the Black Panthers showing up in Detroit or Philadelphia and intimidation factors at the, those are written by the kind of people who see a black guy and lock their doors. I mean, it's like literally the Black Panthers were here. What? So there were some black guys there to vote? Is that what it was? No, it was really the Black Panthers. What, was Huey Newton there with a machine gun? Was Patty Hearst there? How the fuck were the Black Panthers there? Trust me, it was them. Okay. People scared of their own fucking shadow. Or any other being who looks like their shadow. So I get there to stand in line, and I'm waiting, and there was conviviality, but then there were people who were taking photos. But then the cool part is there were people in line taking photos of those people, and it turned into that bullshit. And then there were people in line taking pictures of themselves voting because they were voting for the first time. These two 18-year-old girls were so happy. And it was totally fun. So we're in line, and they kept coming out, and they're yelling at us to, who's here for the green table? You can go right in, but I was there for the orange table. Get to the front door, and it's funny, when I voted, I actually went out and I Twittered that I had voted, and a guy wrote me, and you folks, you remember a lot of stuff that I say. I wish I could remember all of the things that I've said. I need to go back. But right when somebody reminds me that I said something, I remember that I said that. Because I wrote that I had voted, and then this guy wrote, "Did the place smell like a vagina filled with cat food again?" Which I think I said about it the last time. And what was really funny is it reeked, and I was going to make a joke about how bad it smelled, and I forgot that I had said that. And he's like, "Did it smell like a vagina filled with cat food?" And then I wrote him back, and I go, "No, it actually smelled like somebody jerked off into a fire." Because it did, just like this. It had a weird burning. It smelled like someone had set an adult bookstore on fire. I mean, it was like that kind of burning, but also bleachy and soapy. Oh, it was fucking disgusting. So I waited. I get in a line, and I'm waiting. I'm moving up to the front, and all the green table people are going in. I'm progressing, and the people are all having fun, except for the photo takers are just glum. And I get to the front door, finally, to head in. And there's a big clusterfuck at the orange table. They can't find these people's names, and they start looking for supplemental, and they're looking around. They can't find them, and so anybody that they couldn't find their name, they made them walk to the green table and check there. But it turned out the 5 people ahead of me in line, the 2 18-year-olds and another guy, their names weren't in the book. So I was whatever the fuck, who cares? They moved them over to the green table, and as I'm waiting in line, there's on the left-hand side of me, there's an old man voting. He's sitting down at a machine. It wasn't like, I don't even know what it was. There was no ballot for him. He had to do a machine punch a bunch of buttons. And I don't know if it was just an old people have to vote that way or something. I don't know. But he's sitting there, and I'm standing next to him, and he's actually drooling on himself. He has drool coming out of his mouth, and he keeps slurping it back in and wiping his mouth. And it was just fucking horrible. And he was just, because I will be honest with you, when I first saw him, in my mind, I had civic pride. I know that sounds weird, because I was like, he's got to be 95, and yet he's still in here voting. That's awesome. How many elections has he voted in? How much change has he affected in this country by going in and participating in something we all should participate in? And then I looked, and he had drool all over his face and his shirt and stains on his shirt. And in my head, I'm like, I don't want that fucking guy voting. I'm not even sure this guy should be breathing the same air as me anymore. This giant baby? Fucking somebody wrap him in swaddling clothes and let him die already. Quit keeping him alive. So he's drooling on himself, and I'm waiting, and I get to the front, and I give them my name, and I'm not in the book. And then they start looking for my name in the supplementals, and I'm not in the supplementals. And they're like, well, you should probably go over to the green table. I said, all right. So I go over to the green table, and they look me up, and I'm not in it. I'm not in the book. And they go, have you ever voted before? I go, I've voted here for 15 years. Every time, and I will tell you also this, there were all these websites this year that you could actually go and put your address in. It would tell you where you were voting. And I went to 2 separate ones, and it told me to go there to the orange table. It flat out. I never got the thing in the mail, the sample ballot with my name and where to go, but I always knew where to go. I voted in the same place for 15 years. So I just stood there, and I was being very polite, because look, all of these women are 1,000 years old. I mean, they've been volunteering. The reason they first initially started volunteering was just so they could be in a polling place, because when they volunteered the first time, women were not allowed in there. These are all suffragettes, and they are just there combing through these magazines and these big giant books, trying to just keep themselves alive so they can get to you when you get to the table. Keeping their mind engaged so they remember how to speak, because they're old. So they're looking for my name and they can't find it. And then they start arguing amongst one another. And look, old people arguing, always pleasant. And they ask me my street name. I tell them, they go, we don't have any of those street names here. Are you sure you're supposed to vote here? Yes, I voted here for 15 years. I saw you here in 2010, the last time I was here. And again, I'm trying to be nice because, again, they are just old and cranky. And I just want to vote and leave. And I also don't want to cause a thing. There's people taking pictures, and it's already a circus atmosphere. And then the day has just started. I can't imagine how much worse it's going to get. So she says, well, we don't have your name. I go, well, where should I go? I said, I honestly have voted here for 15 years. I actually searched online, and it told me to come here to the orange table. Where should I go? She goes, well, we're not sure. We don't know. She goes, you can do a provisional ballot. I said, what's that? She goes, well, it counts. It's fine. It's just you have to fill out your name and all this stuff. I go, that's fine. Whatever. I go, whatever's easiest. I go, I'm happy. As long as my vote is counted, I'm happy. She goes, okay, well, here, take this and this and this and just go vote. And then a younger man comes over, a guy named DeMarco. And DeMarco was portrayed by Damon Wayans. Because, and you know what's funny? That's not funny to you at all. But if you heard him talk and you saw him, you'd go, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Literally, he was Blank Man. That's who he was. He was the Damon Wayans nerd character from Blank Man. That's who DeMarco was. And he comes over and he's like, what's going on? Why is there such a wait? And he starts yelling at the old ladies because I'm getting a provisional ballot and there are two other women with me and they're looking for their name and they can't find them either. And so they're telling them they're going to get a provisional ballot. And they're trying to explain what it is. And DeMarco's like, we need to hurry up. There's a line. And they're like, we understand DeMarco. And she keeps using his name. I know DeMarco. I understand DeMarco. I'm just trying to get them to provisionally vote DeMarco. And he's like, well, just give them the ballot. Here. And he just starts passing stuff out super fast. And he's doing exactly what they would have done. And he's doing it double, triple speed because he's a human being. He's born in the century. He can move. But he has no tolerance for them. So he just overrules them and he starts doing shit. And in my head, I'm like, DeMarco, you need to stop because if you start doing that, you're going to do everything all day. Because old people will shut the fuck down. They don't care. They'll crawl into their fucking ARP Illustrated and let you do all the fucking work. Who cares? And I don't blame them, quite frankly. Because if you come on like a stiff prick, DeMarco, these people have been alive. They rode a horse here the first time they ever worked here, okay? They don't need your attitude. But he did. He fucking overruled them and he starts passing out ballots. So I get my ballot. I go vote. And I walk over and they had me fill out the envelope. And it has my name, address, date of birth, they want the last four things of my social or my driver's license number. They want all this, and it's just to make sure your vote counts and that you're a real person. So I fill out everything, and it also has affiliation, political affiliation. I never like claiming that, all right? Just because I just feel that's another way to label me. You already have my name, my address. Why the fuck do you need to know what I think? Because I've done that before. Like guys have come to my door and they're like, what are you, Democrat or Republican? And I go, I don't want to say. Oh, so you're an independent? I'm me. I vote for what I want to vote for. I don't vote straight ticket. I never have. If something appeals to me, I'll go ahead and choose it. So I wrote all my information down except for political affiliation. And then I filled out my ballot. I walked over and DeMarco is standing there. And I say, hey, I filled out everything except political affiliation. He goes, oh, you don't have to do that. I go, well, I just want to make sure. I go, I know there's a bunch of people going over these with a fine-tooth comb. I don't need my vote thrown out because I didn't write something on that line. And he goes, don't worry about it. It's fine. He goes, if you want to put something, you can. I go, I don't. That's the point. I said, but I'll write whatever you need me to write on there to make sure that my vote gets cast. That's all I care about. He goes, no, it's nothing you have to worry about. Don't worry about it. We're just trying to get everybody taken care of. And I'm glad that you thought about it, but don't worry. As long as it's filled out with your name and your address and we can verify who you are with a phone number, everything's fine. I said, okay, fine. So I take my ballot and I hand it to this older woman. And she takes my ballot, and she has my ballot in her left hand. And then there's two other women standing there, and she looks at the woman and she goes, where's your ballot? And the woman goes, I just handed it to you. And the older woman looks in her left hand, and I go, actually, that's my ballot. And she goes, oh dear.
Oh no.
Oh. Well, where's your ballot, honey? And a younger woman is next to me and she says, I handed it to you. And she goes, well, then this is it. And I said, no, that's mine. She says, are you sure? I said, if you look, my name is on the pink provisional ballot thing that you're holding in your hand. She goes, oh, but I may have put her actual ballot with your information. I said, no, you've had it in your hand for a second. She goes, oh, oh dear. And I'm like, I'm waiting for Eeyore to show up at that point. You know what I mean? Oh dear. I can't do poo, but you know what I'm doing. So she's standing there, and then she sits down. And kind of just like puts her hands in her lap, holding my ballot in her left hand. She freezes. She shuts down completely. And I look at the younger woman next to me, and she makes this face like, what's happening here? And I go, I don't know. And she goes, I think I'm going to need you two to vote again. And I said, okay. I said, whatever you need, because I can see she's having a crisis. She's having a major crisis. She's shutting herself down. And she honestly, even though she has my ballot, I guarantee you the thing in her left hand is mine. Just the very fact that she could even fuck it up after I take a step away, I'm voting again. And I'll hand it to somebody competent. I don't care. But you just got to give me a ballot. So she goes, oh dear, I'm going to need you two to vote again. And then there's a third woman there, and she goes, well, what did you do with my ballot? And she looks up and goes, oh dear, oh. And she starts moving papers around on the table, and I'm like, what are you doing with these ballots? And then she has my ballot in her left hand, and she goes, well, wait. She goes, I have yours here to the third woman. And I go, no, that's mine. Oh dear. And then DeMarco walks up, and he goes, what's the holdup? What's going on? And she says, well, I'm going to need them all to vote again. And he goes, no, you don't. That's his ballot. Put it in the envelope. And she goes, well, no, because it might be hers. He goes, no, he says it's his. I saw him walk up and hand it to you. That's fine. Here's his name and here's his envelope. Just put it in there. And he tears the top off and hands me the thing. And I go, dude, I'll vote again. I don't mind. He goes, no, don't do that. Don't encourage her.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm like, what does that even mean? Don't encourage her to do what? To be right? I don't want any part of your fucking weird shit, DeMarco. I just want to make sure my vote gets counted. So he tears off my ballot, he hands it to me, and he goes, don't encourage her. And I just went, all right, man. So because he has the right information, and I see him put my ballot in the envelope, and the other two women are like, well, we don't know where our ballot is. And DeMarco's like, what did you do with the ballots? She goes, oh dear, I don't. And he goes, what did you do? And he starts almost like throwing papers on the ground. Like he starts digging through really fast and looking, and he's knocking shit over. And I'm like, dude, that's not helping at all. So he's digging and he's looking, and he takes my ballot. He's still got it in his hand. But it's all sealed now. It's all sealed up with my name and everything. And the ballot. So I'm square. So I just want to get the fuck out of there. And as he's looking for the other two ballots, he's holding my ballot. I'm not leaving until it's in the box, until it's recorded. Okay. So as he's doing that, all of a sudden the old dude that was sitting next to me comes walking over, holding his information. He had like a whole book. And he's pissed himself. He's wearing khakis, and it's just, he's pissed himself. It's all over his thighs and his crotch. But he's not coming over to go, hey, I pissed myself. He's just turning in his ballot. He's got drool on his face and piss in his pants. Oh my God. And his fucking vote is going to count just as much as my fucking vote. And so DeMarco sees him approaching, and he's drooling, and he's kind of like wobbly, and he's got piss all over his pants, and now it smells. You can totally smell. It's even worse. And the two younger women like back off immediately, and he just walks right up to the table holding his book, and he's like, and he's trying to talk, and he can't. Like there's drool in his mouth. And DeMarco's still got my ballot, and I just want out of there at that point, because there's a line of people out the door. There's people voting. There's an old man with piss all over his pants. There's three women whose ballots have fucking disappeared, or two women whose ballots have disappeared, and then me. And DeMarco is wielding my ballot like a fucking weapon and yelling at the old people for fucking up. And finally I look at him, I go, hey, DeMarco. And he looks at me, and I go, are you going to put that in the box? And he goes, yes, of course. And he leans over, and he puts my vote in the box. So I'm pretty sure it was recorded. I don't know. Who knows what happens? I stood there. DeMarco continued to yell at the old people. He's shuffling papers. He's looking around. On my left-hand side, there's two women whose ballots have disappeared into thin air, who are going to have to vote another 9 times before they get it right. There's a man who has no control over his bladder and hasn't since 1974 standing there waiting to get his vote recorded, because, that counts just as much as mine in this country. And I'm standing there watching it, and I'm not moving. And DeMarco, like I said, he put my vote in, and I'm standing there, and DeMarco's moving, and he's yelling at the old people and the other people. And finally, DeMarco looks at me, and he goes, I recorded it. It's in the box. I go, DeMarco? He said, yes. And I go, do I get a sticker? Because I'm not leaving there without a fucking sticker, folks. I voted. So DeMarco, who has recorded it, and there's again a guy with his piss in his pants and the two girls, and DeMarco finally is like, oh, yes, and he leans over and he pulls up the stickers, and it's what's funny. Have you ever pulled a stamp off and it's the sticky, those adhesive stamps, but then it kind of rips a little? Like he started to pull my vote sticker off and it was going to rip, and I'm like, I will request a new one if he rips my sticker. I will absolutely request a fucking new one. But thankfully for him, he was smart. He switched the side, then he pulled it off and it peeled off just fine. And he gave it to me, and all right, here's where I'm dumb, folks. Because everybody in the world, they take their sticker and they put it on their shirt and they're like, yay. And what I would do is I would get home and I'll put it on my cork board. I have them up, whatever, who cares. But what I did, because I'm stupid and I'm a child, I took the sticker and I put it on the bridge of my nose. I put it across the bridge of my nose. Because when I was a little kid, I used to put Band-Aids on the bridge of my nose because it made me look tough. I thought it was a tough guy thing. Like a broken nose is always a tough thing. So that whenever you'd see a guy with a bandage on his nose, you're like, that's a tough guy, like from the old gangster movies. So I would put bandages on my nose. So I immediately took the I voted sticker, and I don't even know why. I just did it. It's not like I planned it. I just grabbed it and I went to, because I actually looked at my flannel shirt and then I went, no. And then I put it across the bridge of my nose. And I turned around to walk out. And a couple people laughed when they saw it, because they know that I'm an idiot. And I walked across the room that fucking smelled, and there was the fucking guy who was pissing all over himself, and the girls, and then there's the council of elders who couldn't find my name, and then there's the sea of broken hips you have to wade through to get out the door, and there's DeMarco, who is 50 years younger than anybody he's working with, and he is exasperated at 7:14. I mean, he's already lost it by then. And I gotta get the fuck out of here, and I'll see you all in 4 fucking years. I turn around to split, there's a line out the door, and there's only one exit, okay? And in the doorway, there's people standing and waiting to vote, but there's a little space you can slip through. However, there's a woman standing there, and she's leaning against the door jamb, and she has her eyes closed. She's blocking the entire exit, and in her hands, she's holding a crucifix. It was a big one. It wasn't a small one. It was like she had it was a two-handed thing, and she's holding it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's funny. Karen has a bunch of crucifixes that she puts on the wall, and they're big. There's she'll have the fucking the 12-inch variety, and then she'll have the little small ones. Well, this woman had a two-hander. All right, and she's standing there with her eyes closed, blocking the doorway. So I go, "Excuse me," because I'm just gonna get past her. And she keeps her eyes closed, and she's moving her lips too. I should tell you that, because she's praying. And I'm in my head, and look, folks, I good for you. All right. I mean, if that's what you need to do and it gets you through the day, fine. But when you start walking out of your house and actively praying in a room full of people, I just think it's a bit much at that point, just for me, especially in a room that smells like somebody jerked off in a fire. Which maybe that's what she was praying about. She was like, oh, Jesus, please don't let this stench stick to my clothes when I leave. So she's in the doorway, and I say, "Excuse me," and she doesn't open her eyes, and she's moving her lips because obviously she's in full pray. And finally I go, "Excuse me," and she opens her eyes and looks at me, and she goes, "What is it?" I said, "Well, I'm just trying to get past and leave." And she goes, "Well, I'm just trying to get in and vote. Is that okay with you?" And it's like, what the fuck are you mad at me for? I mean, it's not my fault that you dragged your church into the middle of this fucking room. So I go, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to leave. I already voted." And she goes, "Well, then just go." And I'm like, "You're blocking the door." It's like, what's so weird? So she's standing there still clutching the crucifix, and because I'm a good person, I go, "What's that for?" And she says, "He guides me in the booth to make the right decision." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, unless he's filled with ink, I don't think he's going to be much help in there." You guys can get me at mikeandmikeschmidtcomedy.com. You guys can be my friend at facebook.com/the40yearoldboy. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/the40yearoldboy. You can find our friend David Hernandez on Facebook at facebook.com/DavidMexHernandez. Be his friend, do all that cool stuff. Our friend Lily Von Stupp is also on Facebook at facebook.com/Lily Von Stupp. You can follow her on Twitter at two separate accounts, twitter.com/Lily Von Stupp or twitter.com/MNTs. And if you want to write her a personal note and find out what naughty guide to Los Angeles she's featured in this week, you can write her at Lily at burlesque411.com. That's Lily, Lili, at burlesque411.com.
Drink your coffee, don't hold some pencils, let's soak your frosty, don't hold more pencils, throw a Garber on these mugs, there's Flamebush Schmitty on these mugs, go buy these wicked awesome mugs, at MikeSchmidtComedy.com,
Want to remind you folks about the Monday Night Tease every Monday night at the 3 clubs on Santa Monica and Vine. It is the longest running, sexiest, hottest burlesque show in the history of Los Angeles, if not all of Southern California, folks. And I happen to know the producer of that show. Her name is Lily Von Stupp. She's a good friend of mine. Produces this show, actually. Hey, Lily.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You've been here with me for a while. How was the Monday Night Tease this past week?
It was awesome.
Yes. Were you involved in some way?
I cast it.
Well, you're the producer, of course, of the hottest, sexiest show in the world, which we know. Did we do no performing, no hosting this past week?
No, Patrick the Bank Robber hosted and came up with a November surprise where he actually jumped into the election, was asking people to vote for him.
Really? Must have
late, I think.
gone well. Sure, that is a skosh late. I won't lie.
Sad he didn't win, but
Well, next year.
next year.
Yeah.
President is every 4 years.
Not for Patrick the Bank Robber.
Is he gonna steal it?
Yep. He's going to just leap in.
Patrick the Bank Robber for president. We can steal this.
Mm.
I like it.
Look at you. Well, that's good. I'm glad the show went well. And now this week is a big show.
Oh, huge.
An interesting show. It is the Prince show coming up this
Yeah.
Monday, which is the erotic titty show, which I hate the name, but that's fine. Good for you.
Love the name.
Well, it's a good name, but I don't like saying it because I don't like that word.
You don't like
but,
to say erotic?
No, erotic I will say all day, but the other word I don't care for.
Like to say two because it's erotic titty too?
Two I'll say. I don't mind erotic two. It's just that second word that has a...
Titty, titty, bothers you. Titty.
yeah, it just sounds juvenile. I don't care for it. Tits I like, but yeah, grim. Well, if you're going to do that, if you're going to point at them, that's fine. I can deal with that. Horrible. So that's coming up this Monday night is the Prince show, and you are involved, obviously.
I am co-host as Baby.
That's nice. But not the other baby. Your baby.
The baby,
All right,
not
good.
the baby.
I will be at that show. I cannot wait to come to that show. That'll be fine. I'll bring and people have already bid on the table, right?
Your table is full.
All right, that's good news. So exciting, and tickets are still available though.
There's a few.
All right, a few tickets are available at brownpapertickets.com for that show, and a lot of upcoming shows there at the Monday Night Tease are available, including New Year's.
I know we're doing the New Year's tease.
The New Year's Tease with April Showers. Woof.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, April Showers is amazing. Very beautiful woman. And a lot of beautiful women are going to be there on Monday night, December 31st, for the Monday Night Tease, New Year's Tease. Tickets are available now at Brown Paper Tickets for that, as well as, like I said, the Prince Show and all the shows in between. Meat Fest is coming up. All sorts of shows at the Monday Night Tease are coming up. So please pick up tickets at MondayNightTease.com. And also go to brownpapertickets.com. They have the direct ticket link. If you search Lily Von Stupp or Monday Night Tease, brownpapertickets.com will be able to help you right there and find all the information and buy the tickets there. Go ahead and go to those shows. Come see me and say hi on Monday night at the Prince Show. I don't think I'm coming to the New Year's show. Still in play. It all depends on whether or not I want to leave my house. Who knows? Please know that you go to facebook.com/the40year-old-boy, and there are all sorts of pages to bring me to your town. Nothing is imminent, I will tell you that, but there are pages for Detroit, Montreal, all these cities that I'd love to come to. It's just going to be a matter of finances and things like that and me figuring out a way for me to do so. But I am coming to St. Louis, not this week, but next week, next Friday, which I believe is the 16th. St. Louis is November 16th, 2012 at the Soulard Hall. I'm whistling my S's, but that should be enough to get you in the door. This will be the last performance of this version of the Success Is Not an Option. It's the last show of the Success Is Not an Option tour, but you don't care. Nobody cares. It's just I'm changing it up because a lot of people are coming to see me multiple times, and I want to make sure that they see a different show. And it is different because the first hour is different, but who fucking cares? Whatever. I'm changing it up because I want to. So Soulard Hall, St. Louis. Tickets are on sale now at brownpapertickets.com for that show next Friday, November 16th, 8 o'clock show. And then there's a meet and greet afterwards, and they've been very cool with me so far. And hey, here's a good thing: buy some tickets because it started out like gangbusters. You actually outsold Philadelphia the first week or two, and then it's completely stopped and tapered off. So it would be really cool if we could get some people in there just to show venues that I can do that. And then they would not think twice about having me back a second time. That would be great. I would love to keep coming to towns and cities. And I'd love to come to different cities too. San Antonio wants me there and Austin wants me back. Everybody's really cool. It's just a matter of being able to sell tickets. So once I can do that, then I can go ahead and book shows. So I have to figure out a new approach, which would be being funny. I need to be funny live, and then people can come and see me. So like I said, if you go to facebook.com/the40year-old-boy, you can be my friend there, as well as join these pages and get the tickets for St. Louis. Those are available now. Want to tell you about this. I kind of glossed over it, and I didn't mean to. Indiegogo/MNT. You can go there and give money to Lily and her gallery show that's coming up in January for the Monday Night Teas to celebrate the anniversary, I believe. Is it the...
It's 9 years of the show, yeah.
9 years of the show, and they're doing a special gallery show for it. Indiegogo/MNT. Go ahead and give whatever you can to try to make this gallery show come true. $60 gets you in for the private show, which I was informed last week may include real nudity.
Yeah.
So go ahead and check that out. That'll be fun at Indiegogo/MNT. There's no .com or anything like that? Indiegogo.com/MNT. And contribute. People are doing so, which is great. We appreciate it, but we'd love to get more. That would be good. Also, please go to artbydmh.com. That's my friend David Hernandez. He is doing freelance artwork. If you're a business, you're looking for anybody to do anything like that, he can do storyboards, caricatures. He can do anything you would need. Go to artbydmh.com. It's amazing work. Even if you're not hiring, go take a look and look at the artwork that he's posted so you can see samples of the work, because you may know somebody who may need someone and you can refer him, because it's amazing work. And I swear by him, and his turnaround times are amazing, as you know, he does the drawing. Well, you know what, actually today, I think he's actually doing a thing where he's cataloging how long it takes him to do this week's artwork. I imagine that'll be at Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/DavidMexHernandez, or maybe even on his website at artbydmh.com, he's actually going to do a thing where he shows you from beginning to end the creation of the artwork for this week's show.
Cool.
So at least he told me on the phone he was going to do that. I have no idea if he is, but hopefully he is, and that'll be fine. But go check that out and see the kind of work that he does, because I can vouch for him. He's amazing, and he's my friend. So go ahead and check that out, please. Remember to go to the MikeSchmidtComedy.com. There's plenty of things for you to see there, including the new Explosions of Id page, which you may have heard a promo for earlier in the show. It's like I said, it's bite-sized pieces of the show. You can enlarge it and read the id and then click on play, and you'll actually hear the drop of dialogue that goes along with the id. So it's a lot of fun. Check it out. We're excited for it. Go check out the new Explosions of Id page at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. While you're there, go to the Joe Business page with plenty of things available for you there, including autographed artwork for this show, autographed by me, Lily, and David. That's 8.5 by 11.5 prints of any of the artwork from the show. Those are available now. Tweakedaudio.com/40. Earbuds and cock ring watches available. Go ahead and click through there. Some people bought some earbuds this week. Thank you so much. Bruce thanks you. I thank you. There's mugs available. The Fireboy mug and the Thorgar and Yeet mug. Those are also available. T-shirts. Red Boy and Scar Panda available right now. 2Xs are sold out, but other sizes are available right now. I'm going to say right now a million more times while I'm talking. Also, the download sets are available year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4, or the Podcast of the Caribbean set, which is all 4 of them for the price of 3. So pick those up. You can also donate to the show in the upper left-hand corner. There's a donation Schmitty little guy with his pocket out. Click on that and make a one-time donation to the show, which is appreciated. Or donate every month, $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, or $25 a month. Those are available right now to go ahead and sign up and do that. We'd appreciate it very much. We thank you for all your donations. I will get to telling people who you are soon. I'm compiling a list. Although, you know what? I'll thank our friend Sergio Sardo, who gives every month. Thank you so much for Sergio. And our friend Nate Bunnyfield, who gives every single month, who I actually met when I was on the road in Kansas City. Thank you, Nate, so much. We appreciate you giving every month. And you guys can do that too, and I'll get to mentioning you in the future. In the future. That sounds so futuristic. But thank you so much for everybody who donates to the show, whether it's a one-time or a recurring, and buying things. And also, by the way, please remember that the Schmitty Comes Alive download is available now for $5 at the Joe Business page. It features me live at the sold-out show at the Los Angeles Podcast Festival. It's an audio-only download. Please don't think it's a video, but you don't want to see me talking anyway unless you see me live. Trust me. But I'm really proud of the Schmitty Comes Alive show. I think it's a really great representation of what I do, and it's a story you will never hear on this show. It's a one-time story that I told live. I may tell it live again in the future, but I can tell you that right now it is only available via the Schmitty Comes Alive download set, which is $5 and available right there at the Joe Business page. Click on the little Schmitty Comes Alive icon in the lower left-hand corner. That looks like Peter Frampton, and then you'll be able to buy the download set. Or it's actually not a set. It's just a download link that I'll send you. But $5 gets you an hour and a half of comedy. Who can beat that? Nobody. Until someone puts out 2 hours of comedy for $5. In the escalating arms race of comedians trying to top one another with their $5 download sets. And then I'll have to scheme. I'll have to come up with something myself. I don't know how long I could go, possibly. I'll have to figure it out. I'll have to time it out. You think 4 hours?
I think you can do 4.
Not live. I don't think I could do 4 live. I did 3.5 live in Atlanta. 3:35 in Atlanta. Live. And now I'm heading home, where I am going to, I'm just going to have a misery party, I think. I'm just going to, I want to overload myself with misery, like all of my senses. Like I'm going to turn on Fox News and just listen to them pissing and moaning and whining about what the fuck happened and still trying to figure, because that's my favorite part, is they still pretend like they can't figure out what happened. They had a round table. They're trying to figure out why single women voted for the president. What are you talking about? Maybe the fact that you have 6 white guys sitting around wondering why women voted for the president? That's why you can't figure it out. You know, and look, if you like Fox News or whatever, I think it does more harm than good, because we always make fun of it and that's become a laughing stock and a joke, but all it does is preach to the choir. Like it preaches to old scared people, old scared white people who don't realize what's going on in the country. And then they act surprised by it. Like last night, like I said, Bill O'Reilly was talking about this isn't white America anymore. And then they started talking about the Republicans have a Latino problem and how... And they were talking about how Hispanics and blacks carried the day for him. And it's like, no, they were Americans. You do realize that. I don't give a fuck what race they are or what their ethnicity is. They're still Americans. That's who voted for the president. Don't act like these Hispanics snuck over in costumes and all voted for him. They live here now. You have to deal with them. You never had to in the past, but now you do. And I think by demonizing Obama over and over to their audience, they think the people watching start to think that the entire nation feels that way because it's an echo chamber. So they start to think, oh, well, everybody must feel this way, so we're going to easily vote him out. Because then they talk about Romney, and like I said, they started to say the poll numbers were showing Romney and landslide for Romney. I think they hurt themselves because they convinced people into thinking, oh, yeah, we all feel this way. And then they're shocked at night when they find out that, no, half the country does not feel that way at all. At all. But I'm going to have a misery party, man. I'm going to go home, I'm going to turn on Fox News and listen to them cry. And then I'm going to read Facebook and find all the people who are bitching on there about where their country's gone and why they have to go to church and save themselves. And then I'm also going to drink spoiled milk. Like the entire time, literally, I'm just going to hear it because then my ears get it and my eyes get it. And then I'm just going to drink spoiled milk. And so I'm like...
because I have a tone. Because you know why? Because I talk quickly and I don't fucking think. That's why. I think that's what it means when you have a tone. Is you don't fucking bother to care what comes flying out of your goddamn mouth. I try to grow the show and I want people to get on board and they're like, I listen to it and you talk too fast. Really, I talk too fast. How the hell else am I supposed to cram all of this into a small 3-hour window? Dude, there's no script. I just go over this shit on the fly. It makes me laugh. If it doesn't make you laugh, turn the fucking station. And by turn the station, I mean turn the wheel of your car right into a guardrail. Jesus fuck. Hey, where are you going, boy?